Hello, everyone. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. If you're out there on socials, we'll begin shortly. I'm going to let in our live Zoom participants. Hey there on Zoom. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. We're about to begin. Thank you for joining us. I will spotlight myself, and we will begin shortly. Again, hello out there on the socials and Facebook and YouTube. And I'll give a brief overview today, and then we're going to get started. Unfortunately, our guest had to cancel last minute for today. That said, I am prepared. I have some archival recordings that I created a year or two ago, and we're going to dive into them. Put some more participants in here. As I was saying, for those of you that just joined us, for today's episode of the Radio Hour, we had a guest lined up, but they canceled last minute. But never fear, I have some very interesting content to share with you today that's kind of been sitting in the archives for this type of situation. Back in, I believe, 2023, I paid a visit to San Francisco and visited good friend of the show, Larry Lobel, who lives in Santa Rosa, just north of San Francisco. And he was kind enough to line up a series of interesting adventures for me out there, which a handful of them I created recordings of and put them on the shelf just in case we could use them at some later point. And today is one of those later points. Just to give you a little bit of background, and then I'll intro the program, and we're going to shift over to some footage that I have on hand. One of the places that I visited with Larry was a place called Reference Recordings in Pacifica, California. Interestingly enough, and this was why it was a little bit on my brain, we had a guest, Roger Glenn, who joined the program a handful of weeks ago. Very talented jazz musician who had played with many of the greats who happen to live in Pacifica. And of course, that prompted me to put Roger in touch with these friends of the show that I'm going to introduce you today at Reference Recording specifically, a man named Keith O. Johnson, who's played an integral role in the history of recorded music. And so I reached out to them over the past couple of weeks. I sent a joint email to Keith and his team over at Reference Recordings, introduced them to Roger. Of course, they had some overlaps living near each other and being in the music industry as well. But at Reference Recordings, when I reached out, they said, hey, did you ever release that interview we created? And I said, no, I really haven't had time because we have guests lined up for the show. So what an excellent opportunity to dive into the material I recorded. Just to give you a little bit of background, again, Larry introduced us to these folks. We made a trip to Pacifica, which is just south of San Francisco, a beautiful Pacific Ocean front town with a wonderful beach and a cute little community there. And this recording sort of studio / archive. I think the intuition says Reference Recordings is a recording studio. I believe they maybe have had recording studios in the past, but at this moment they had not built any recording studio in their space, which they introduced us to, which you'll see in its sort of raw warehouse form. Pretty cool. But really, the Reference Recordings refers to the recording archives they have, because they've made a lot of recordings, some live recordings, some in-person recordings way back for decades, back in the 50s. And they are known for having this wonderful archive of music that's very important, but also high fidelity. They've paid very close attention to the cutting edge and even in some ways created the cutting edge of recording techniques and recording fidelity and high fidelity in recording. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the program, Piano Tech Radio Hour, as we typically do. Just give our standard introduction for those that are new, and then we'll dive into the recorded content, which I'll give a slight preface to again in a moment, and then we'll check out that interview content. But first, let's welcome you to the program. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour, and what we do is we gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. This includes manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our crafts, to help each other, and let's create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. That is an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more about that content at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to this program known as Piano Tech Radio Hour for just $16 a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings of well over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join Radio Hour at the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. We also like to remind you that we have an audio-only version of these sessions that goes out as a podcast. It's recognized worldwide, been top 100, top 10, even number 1 in various locales in the performing arts category on iTunes. Additionally, you can check us out on Substack for the blog version of Piano Technicians Masterclasses, which gives you some interesting insights into some of the content that we have for high-level piano technicians. Of course, don't forget to check us out on social media. That's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the like. And you can also subscribe to our mailing list and newsletter to find out more about what's going on and keep abreast of this program. You just go to pianotechniciansmasterclass.com, you enter your name and email, and you will continuously stay up to date with our activities. Now, let's get into this recording. A brief preface. I've been using a very interesting new recording technology, speaking of technologies, of a 360-degree recording. So what I'll do is I'll take this specialized camera on location in various spaces, get some good audio hooked up to it as well, and then we can sort of capture what it's like to be in a space and be live. And in this particular case, that's what we did at Reference Recordings. I'm skipping over some of the content. I could have put some context there, and also there's even more interview content which we may share later. But basically, we went into this space that they own. We're in the front. They showed us around. We looked at a piano, which we're not going to look at today, but we might look at it in a different episode. But basically, we sat down with Keith and his team in a nice little circle, including myself, Larry Lovell, who introduced us, Keith, and 2 of his partners in crime at Reference Recordings. And what's cool about that is you're going to get to feel like you're right there, 360-degree. We pan the view of this 360-degree camera around to the speaker at various times, and you can see we're in this wonderful warehouse space that has scads and scads of very special recordings on all of the shelves. So what I have right now, it's kind of like a pseudo raw version of a final edit. It's not going to be our highest quality fidelity, but you're going to be able to get the view of the interview and meet Keith and see what he's up to. And probably at some point later on, we'll refine the content as well and release it in a more high fidelity format. But now you're going to kind of see exactly what it looked like when we were in situ at Reference Recordings. So let me switch over to screen share now, and I'll share some of these clips, and feel free to make some comments and discuss if you feel like it while that's viewing in the chat. And what I'll do is I'll run we have a couple of different recordings. One's going to be about 15-20 minutes. Once that's finished, I'll pause, I'll start the next one, and that'll run for about a half hour, and then we'll wrap up probably by the end of the hour. All right, let me go ahead and make sure I'm sharing sound and the video clip version. And I'm going to go to my editing software, which I'm going to share directly from. And we're going to get started here. If you have any issues seeing or hearing, please just let me know and in the chat, and I will make sure to edit anything. Of course, you're going to know the quality better than myself. We'll put this in full screen. Let me set up the start point. Put this in full screen version and we'll hit go. Enjoy.
All right. looking for something?
No, I'm putting it back in the pocket.
All right.
I guess we'll start with the official introduction of Keith, and then, we've had informal introductions of everyone else. So Keith O. Johnson is a pioneering audio engineer and co-founder of Reference Recordings, where he has served as technical director, recording and mastering engineer for over 46 years. Known as Prof. Johnson, his career is marked by innovative achievements and a dedication to high-fidelity audio. Johnson's journey began with a self-built 3-channel magnetic tape recorder in high school, leading to a scholarship at Ampex Corp, Advanced Studies at Stanford University. He co-founded Gauss Electrophysics, developing recording methods and air suspension tape technology that revolutionized high-speed tape duplication. At Reference Recordings, Keith has engineered over 150 titles utilizing custom-built or modified equipment, which we might get into, to create exceptional recordings. His work on the high-definition compatible digital process, HDCD, with Michael Flaumer set new standards in digital recording. His achievements include a Grammy for Best Surround Sound Album in 2011 and the Audio Engineering Society Silver Medal Award in 2008. Keith has a profound interest in keyboard instruments, particularly reproducer pianos and pipe organs. His personal collection includes a Steinway Welte piano and an early Wicks pipe organ. Throughout his career, Keith O. Johnson has pushed the boundaries of audio engineering, leaving a legacy of innovation, technical mastery, and a passion for music. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour, Keith.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much for a great introduction.
There you go.
What can I say?
Straight off our website. But pretty good.
You got to live up to it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Tell me about it. These days, the hands on the clock go slower and go faster and faster, and the feet go slower.
Yeah.
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's hard when you're a runner.
Yeah.
You just, PRs are behind you.
That's right, yeah.
You've been running around this area?
Oh, yeah.
What a great
Still
area.
do.
to go
Keith
for a run.
was a great runner in his day.
Yeah. Yeah, I did go for a hike back in February around here somewhere. I don't know exactly where it was, but off the road there was a little horse kind of farm, and you'd go up and hike through the hills.
I think I know where you went.
Oh, yeah.
It's really nice over there.
There's some beautiful stuff.
I still placed, got first place in my age group in the turkey trot. And
Last year.
That was this year.
Well done, sir.
How many people in the
That's
age group?
because there wasn't
There were
anybody
3.
else.
No, that's actually not true. There were 3 of you.
Yeah, I guess
That reminds me of I'm going to call it a joke. Let's call it a joke that I was playing on a cruise ship, and the music director on the cruise ship, he said, Ethan, of all the piano players I've ever had the privilege to work with, you certainly are the most recent.
That's really great. Yeah, cleverly said.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Oh, dear.
All right. So you've been involved in sort of forefront of technological achievements, right?
Lots of patents, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I would be just curious for you to go over a little bit of kind of the things that you've worked on and how that came to be. Yeah, just kind of curious tinkerer, or how does this all work?
Well, so the very first recording I made is when my mother and father took me to the shrink because I happens with the kind of abilities that people like me would have. I could do pattern recognition and things like that rather well, and other things related to memory and so forth were not very good. And so they're trying to figure out what was going on, because they're trying to teach me those multiplication tables
Memorize it.
by memorizing, or what is 12 times 12 or whatever it might be. So anyway, first recording, I was a bad boy, and I went in, it was this nice shiny machine, and I could see how it worked. It was the talent that's built in. I push that button, it's going to go around, and there's a cylinder in it that's going around, and there's a thing that dropped down, and I see shiny grooves. And I saw the horn, so I figure I can listen to the horns. I drop the horn on the table, the grooves change a little bit, and I went bang, bang, bang like that. And then, yeah, sure, if I yelled into the horn, I could see fuzzy stuff on the groove. So I figured, well, I better quit this. I'm going to get in trouble with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end of that. But
So that's how you get started.
That's the very
that's how I
first.
got started.
Well, actually, that reminds me. I haven't thought of it in a while, but somebody suggested, and maybe given everything we're doing with AI and stuff these days, somebody suggested that you might be able to take like a vase or like some pottery from like ancient Greece or something like that, and if they use some sort of a stylus to carve a little groove around the edge, that you could potentially take the pattern that the groove made in the pottery and maybe reproduce a conversation that was had while it was being created,
wow.
right?
I like that.
Yeah, doesn't that sound cool?
Oh, yeah.
Someday,
There's
sometime.
something about that.
Right?
Yeah, there was somebody who actually was working on that, and also trees, where the rings in the trees could be played back as music, and they thought they maybe could correlate it with what was going on in the climate at that moment. So
Fascinating.
Yeah. You know, when I was working in Bombay for a project, they took me to one of the caves, and the writing and objects and so forth, and suddenly the voice, you can't tell where it's coming from, but it's in there, but you can't tell where it's coming from. Well, they staged it.
Oh.
The cave had little holes up on the ceiling, and there was another cave above that. And
they're making an echo chamber of some sort.
Chamber, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what got you, when did you, so you got a fascination and maybe an affinity for recording technology, audio recording technology. When made you first start like tinkering with it, you know, where you wanted to modify it? Because you've gotten quite good at creating your own recording equipment, right?
Yeah. And I bought Allied Radio, the Pentron recorder. They were cheap, and took it apart and learned pretty much what was in it. And then there was interest in solid state electronics getting going. And I made, I don't know why, how, I was so creative enough to make an op amp, a true op amp for the record amplifier, to make a recorder. And it ended up in a very small little package.
Was that your one in the high school?
Yeah, it's the one in the high school. That became miniature precision bearings. It had a lot of their bearings in plain sight. It had a loop of tape around the reel, self-tensioning. And you find an example of probably the first switching power supply to drive a motor was inside that thing. And then there were 4 channels of little tiny op amp things, all built on one piece of plastic inside, and room for 2 9-volt silver oxide batteries. That was the whole deal.
And what? Tell me, this is some lingo I might not get. Op amp. What does that mean? Op amp.
Oh, an op amp is where you have something. If you just simply hook up something to it and don't do any work, you have a tremendously high gain, and it's all direct coupled. There's no capacitors in the thing. So
I've been trying to get that to work.
that's what it is. That's what they
so long.
And then you take the output,
Yeah, it's something.
tie it back to the input, and then the distortion and things like that get canceled out or get removed by that feedback loop. So that's what that thing had. And then I used it as a way of simulating an inductor, which can be done also as a way of manipulating. So what that does is it's a record head or a playback head's an inductor. This thing simulates the same kind of deal, and so that becomes part of the record amp. And so it worked very nicely. The miniature precision bearings learned about it because Popular Mechanics published a little article.
He won an award
about that thing. They were impressed by it, so they published a little article, and then so that became then the Miniature Precision Bearings Award for that year of technology, and it got around. And
now, and isn't that why you got your Ampex scholarship?
yeah,
Yeah, he
that
got
came
that.
about from
Yeah,
that.
and they paid for some of his future schooling.
And in my professorial way, which has always been, just my nature. That got me started. A friend got me started recording for the Armed Forces radio, and then the machine I built could copy its own tapes. How can you do that? How can you
Thread
make
it
a
carefully.
machine that copies its own tapes? And it's very simple. It's a board that goes across the top with two motors on it, and you plug them in, and they create torque, and they're pulling, and then the closed loop drive in that machine. Both tapes go through at the same time, and one goes by the record head, and the other one goes by the playback head, and that does the job, makes a copy.
Wow. So in
Lots
terms
of those recordings.
of when you just mentioned this contraption with the bearings and the op amps and
Oh, yeah,
whatnot,
yeah.
I'm trying to put it all together in my head. But how old were you when you pulled that together?
Oh, God. Let's see, I would have been just out of high school.
Just
Okay.
in high school. It was in high school.
It was
Wow.
in high school,
I
and I
have a
made the
picture
machine.
somewhere.
Wow.
And then did the finishing touches on it in the linear accelerator
At Stanford.
booth, because I took the scholarship was called engineering science,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very, very neat thing. You learn how to run a power plant. You learn how to do various things, maybe build a bridge or so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to turn the power plant online, because Stanford was creating its own electricity.
Wow.
And then part of the requirements, I had to make the tools and things to repair parts. So I had to learn how to run a shaper, a milling machine, a lathe, a few things of that nature. They were very useful again. And then the other things, I had to do fine arts of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a little bit of keyboard experience. My parents gave me things and got a piano of sort. So I had to learn to improvise basically. And so my requirement to fulfill that was to perform for kind of a meditation group. And it was a
Sounds
small,
very Californian.
Yes.
yeah, exactly what it
Yeah.
was. How many were getting stoned, I don't know. At that point, I got to learn about the
Played the pipe
various
organ.
Beatles things. It was all happening at the same time. The yellow submarine, down the hatch, you're on the yellow submarine, that one.
Yeah.
Well, all of them have something going on.
Yeah.
Was that in the Stanford Chapel that you played? No.
I did play some things there, but it was basically in the what was it? It was there's a room just behind the lake. It had a rather nice tracker organ in there,
At Stanford.
beautifully built. Right, it was a very nice instrument, and so that's where I did it. And then it had a little offset where people could go in and meditate and get away from things. So that was a good carve.
Nice
For
fine
that,
arts.
and then,
Elective.
So now the way that you're discussing these things that you created and things, I didn't find it in your bios or anything, and maybe this wasn't the direction you took, but it sounds like you're kind of like, you could be making patents or involved in that kind of stuff. Are you involved in having some patents or design?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
quite a few patents.
Okay, fascinating.
So that's those are the
So we'll look you up on the Google patents.
yeah
and
right.
See what look at those
Sometimes
guys.
a co-inventor, like on the video disc thing, the transducer, that part of Paul Gregg is the inventor of the video disc, as we know it,
Remember optical discs?
optical disc.
Yeah.
And
Like
then I did
DVD.
a simple thing to
These were laser discs.
make it
Laser
work,
disc, yeah. Laser disc.
which I learned is called feed forward. Normally the term is feedback.
Uh-huh.
In case of feed forward, what you do is you know what's going to create a conniption. And so you basically find that ahead of time if you can, and then make some moves to start introducing the correction before the error happens.
Mm.
And
Like a noise canceling headphones might be.
exactly the same deal.
Right.
Right.
Exactly the same deal. That would be a feed-forward device also.
Okay.
So I made a transducer. It turned out it also made a very fine way to reproduce piano rolls, copy them, because you have two little fiber optics looking at something, and the transducer had to work by something being in both little optics at the same time, which means the object has to be in the center. Off to either side, no, it's not going to register as such. So something like that, yes, it tracks and knows the center of the punch in the piano roll.
Amazing.
Notes are more accurate.
Now, this is a personal interest, and Stanford is a big place that a lot of people have been through, but
Yeah.
are you familiar with a guy named Carl Gerasi by any chance? Carl Gerasi?
I don't think
You're not
so.
familiar with that name?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right.
I knew Dr. Woodrow.
Okay, stand by. We're going to switch over to the next recording. Let's check it out.
But yeah, you never know. He was involved in Stanford quite a bit.
Stanford has a really cool like synthesizer room, doesn't it?
I'm sure. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Maybe I will while I'm here.
If
I'm
you-
hoping to explore the campus a little bit while
If
we're
you
here.
get a chance to, I've heard it's like they've been doing it for a long time. They've got a bunch of old and new all integrated. I don't know much about it, but I'm very curious. I was hoping
I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank
If I
you.
check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
actually, one invention was important. The Project Tron.
Oh, yeah, Alan
It
Parsons.
was Alan Parsons. I was doing Armed Forces radio recordings. The machine would copy the tapes. I had that going in a nice way, and then met Alan Parsons, Gordon Perry of the Dick of London team. Got to learn about how they had created a modular console that could be shipped. I
These
thought
are
that was
early
kind of
days.
neat watching them do it. And all of my recording equipment that I followed through had a similar character to itself. Oddball connectors, and the deal was that the connectors had the programming of how it was going to be hooked up. And it's not only is it quick to set it up and run it, but it's very powerful in terms of minimizing the amount of cables and wires and other stuff that would be going on.
Right.
Yeah, but the Project Tron synthesizer was
So
really
the Project
cool.
Tron was
Yeah.
interesting. Alan was intrigued by this stuff, and he liked magic.
Like
So I made a toy, and that toy became part of the famous magician. That it wasn't my invention. Well, part of it was actually where you catch the bullet in midair like Superman did. You get shot.
Yeah, he did a lot of magic trick stuff for the big guys.
Oh yeah, I did have the
Really?
magic tricks also. David, whatever.
Copperfield?
Yeah.
Copperfield, yeah.
Like
Not-
help
but
create
not
them or help
directly.
engineer them or something?
Not directly. It was the fellow that made the stuff for him. And I did that, and
He built them.
yeah, and then that became a connection.
But Alan loved magic, and they went to the Magic Castle.
So we went
I
to the
remember this
Magic
story.
Castle, and I showed him that, and at that point I got interested in the reproducing piano that was there. That was Irma, I think they called it. And
Yeah, the name.
it wasn't a reproducing piano. There was somebody behind the wall playing that thing.
They lied.
Magic.
That's hilarious.
It was magic. It's an illusion.
That reminds me, there's a story in the Elon Musk biography, not autobiography, and they're talking about how they're making androids. They're going to make these android
Uh-oh.
robots, robots and stuff like that, and they want to present it, but they're behind schedule on production, so they just get somebody to dress up
Oh,
I did hear about
and dance on stage.
Oh, no.
We're like, what exactly is going on here?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the Project Tron, what it ended up being, was the world's first electronic recorder player for a keyboard instrument. It replaced the whatever those things were originally. They had a capstan down the middle and a rubber pad under each key, and then you push a little loop through and you play the note that way. So it replaced it. However, it not only did it play the instrument, but it had expression. I said, okay, I've got all these organ keyboard parts, because I had to restore the instrument I had. So I can take one of those things, and it's got the relay to hook it up. It's a 61 pole relay. It's going to be useful for things that people hadn't heard of before, and then made it so that it was an expressive keyboard. It was a different kind of expression than we would have now. That thing, if you bear down on the key hard, that compressed something. That was one way.
Right.
The other way, you tap the key quickly, it bounces, goes down. Or you can bear down hard and go this way. And the side contacts in the multi-pin thing would then
Different
go in,
sound.
because each rank of pipes, the note in each rank of pipes had one little contact finger going in to run that thing. So all it was is just simply flipping across contact fingers, and so it could play with expression.
Wow.
And that created a big stir in England.
Yeah, he used it on a lot of those Alan Parsons Project albums.
Yeah. And 20cc was another group that used it.
Yep, and Ambrosia.
Ambrosia.
Keith was heavily
Keith, I read
involved
that you
in
were
Ambrosia.
involved with Joseph Tuschinski in developing the piano quarter.
Yes.
Was that around the same time?
Not the one that we would know.
Oh,
That one, that's the instrument that ended up in the kitchen. One of those.
You fooled with your Yamaha? Oh
It was a
no.
Yamaha, and it had a cassette recorder,
yes,
which was to record and play it.
right.
And so that was the toy. And then the difficulty I had was dealing with the pedal modulations, and then the particularly moving the hammer line, things like that. That was a difficult deal.
So did Tuschinski hire you to help him
Yes,
on that?
was just, and he said, you got to have this instrument to work on it. And it was around the same time that Steinway sent their example of what happens with piano expression.
Yeah, he had a cut in half piano action that Steinway sent him to fool with, and it was kind of neat.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to that.
They took it back, but
Okay.
it was a sawed-off section of the piano, and they had taken a fast video, fast sequence video, real fast frame rate, and then showed me what happens to piano action when you do things to it. And the one that I think caught Steinway's feelings or something about it was that they showed me in that thing why I'm going to have to be aware of what I'm trying to do. When the hammer comes up, and you have to do that to the keys, hammer's going this way, going up. It's actually wobbling from side to side depending on how much play there is in the piano action.
Yeah.
And then because the hammer's not hitting directly on the little grooves, sound's going to be different. And so you got to fix that on the player. You can't just have a solenoid turn on and go bang like that. It's going to create the same problem.
Yeah.
And so I worked on that, and that's something that played. I mean, it became the disc clavier that we know.
And then,
And then disc clavier was like a Yamaha product.
Yes, it was.
Did you work on the actual disc clavier, or just that was the evolution of from what you were looking at and trying?
I worked on something. It wasn't quite the disc clavier that we would know now. It was
Okay.
a prototype of something, but it had the cassette machine in it, and it had an experimental optical drive, which didn't work very well. So So that
And all
was
these people were kind of cross-pollinating, because I know Wayne Stanky had something to do with Joe Tuchinski also.
Oh yeah, they crossed paths.
Right.
And then the optical AND gate, that one came out of Paul Gregg's tracker for the video disc. I had the two little fiber optics, and they're reading, and then if there's a hole or something going by, if it's on one side of the hole, the other side of the hole, you only get one conducting. Put them in the middle, and they're both there. And then to make it really work, you know how fast the turntable is going around, it's a tachometer. So that you need to know. And then you know what the groove pitch is. And that you need to know. And that tells you where you're supposed to be at that whole event, which means you're supposed to be there and not there, because that wouldn't line up. So when you do that, you have this program lockup, which is a feed-forward thing. Then you're tracking, and the video disc can't stick. It can't just get stuck and play the same frame over and over and over. It's going to advance, and it did, and that changed that picture.
Those are the early days of all sorts of important things.
Yeah, indeed. Foundational.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit before we came in, and Larry, I know you're involved over at Skywalker Sound. How did you guys start getting involved with Skywalker and what's going on over there? Is that from the beginning, or?
Wow, I'm trying to think, what was our first recording at Skywalker?
I don't know the first.
This is quite some time back, and Victor Ladine, who produces stuff, now he's been involved with them for a long time, and they have two pianos that belong to Victor at Skywalker, which...
Just one.
No, that's right. He only owns the Bluthner. That's right. But he has a very nice piano
Sort of
there.
nice, something like that.
Yeah, and he owns a lot of pianos, but only one there. And that, but I don't think that's the first time we recorded there.
One of the earlier recordings was the San Francisco Ballet.
I was thinking the same thing. The San Francisco Ballet Orchestra. That was probably the only orchestra we've recorded in there. But we've recorded a lot of blues and jazz there. Dick Hyman, famous jazz pianist, we've recorded him multiple times. And
Mike Garson.
But we just recorded Mike Garson there, but that's the only time we've recorded Mike there. The Serendipity was somewhere else.
I know, but and then it's Joel Fan.
Right. Our pianist.
Larry helped us with. Actually, you've been on, I think, all of them. Maybe not the old stuff, but
Joel was
several with us.
Some of them were in the Santa Ana High School auditorium, though. So.
Including the world's first direct-to-digital.
Oh yes, that's right. That wasn't at Skywalker,
dish
though.
Up to the satellite.
Yeah.
Wow.
From the converter. No recorder.
Right. We did
Went
3
up there.
albums like that.
And then that captured the information, and then I don't know how it went from there to back to the earth, but it did.
I do. we were the only label crazy enough to ever do that, but the telephone company people were all excited. It was like the first time they'd ever done anything like this, and so they put a microwave link up on the ceiling of the hall we were using, and we used a reproducer piano so you could have a predictable, exact timing. And we sent that to the CD plant, and they cut the master for the CD directly from the microwave link. And so there was no editing, no wires, nothing in the way.
So it was
And no tape in the middle, no digits in the middle. It just went.
It was microwaves. I don't know how it transmits, honestly. I'm not techie
it's
enough.
just a microwave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were up on the roof and all excited about sending it and making sure it went to the CD plant.
Yeah.
And we made three things. 2 of them were with Dick Hyman with reproducer pianos, and one of them was Mike Garson playing a different reproducer piano. And I think Wayne Stanky was involved in one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. And we called them.
What year was it?
I'll go get one.
Oh, gosh. Maybe next to the human holiday.
I think that was in the
Come with
late
us and
80s.
play.
So I'm capturing like your history early on in your life. You're kind of a tinkerer and you're understanding the equipment
Yeah.
and maybe even designing some things and building some things. You know, you could have just become like an engineer working on inventing and designing things. And maybe you did do that. I'm trying
I
to capture.
did initially.
Yeah. It seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, it seems like being a actual engineer, recording engineer,
Oh,
became your bread and butter at some point, and that became your
Yes,
main
yes,
professional
yes.
pursuit.
beautiful question.
Yeah.
Because music goes into the soul, and I got into that. It was on an acoustic phonograph that my parents had gotten me way back when. Cartridges weren't good enough for a kid. They're too delicate at that point, so you had one thing mechanical. You could bang it and bash it and still play the record. Well, anyway, that's where I felt very strongly about I knew already my limitations about my memory and things like that weren't very good. But on the other hand, I could look at a pattern. Like, for example, what is the number of, let's say, let's say 11,000 and 110, let's say, multiplied by itself.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's because if you visualize what you do using the long division, you have a pyramid of ones because you're multiplying one by one, and so that'll be one. So, however, when you add them up, those in the middle of the pyramid, there's a whole bunch more than there is on the edges. And so you start off with one, and then you're counting upward as you come up the pyramid. And then if you remember how many of the tiers you have entering it, then that's going to be the...
You checking the math over there?
That's not quite right, but I think you're onto something.
Yeah, I did another one like that. The same deal of taking advantages is that I had to deal with the shrink, and she said, "Here's this thing with a bunch of gears. Which way does that gear go?" And I got it right. At a later time, another test is I think the high school one gave me a test, similar thing. Here are the gears, here are the gears, the gears. Which way does the gear go? And I told the advisor, it's not going to go anywhere. It can't do it. It can't move.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the guy was floored. How can that happen? There they are. Here you turn that one, it goes that way, goes that way. Why can't it be that the other one doesn't move? Because it ended up with one part which transfers energy from one thing to another, and that gear also had a connection to something else in the chain. And the result was that
To cancel each
It was
other.
locked
move.
up.
Yeah.
Keith, I think one of the questions we kind of just skirted through was whether you do other kinds of engineering
Oh, yeah.
besides recording
The direct
engineering.
well,
because
I'll-
yes, he does.
I'll
Yes, he-
recap. First of all, we'll get to
Yeah.
You went and got this CD.
Yeah, I was
that
just going to say this was
1992.
This one was 92, and this is our 50. We did our 33, so that was in the 80s. But this one describes how we did this, and there were only 3 albums ever done in the world like this, and like because no one else was crazy enough.
This direct to CD recording was made using the Bosendorfer 275 SE reproducing piano. Its acoustic waveforms were captured by the RR microphones, converted to a digital bit stream by the high definition compatible digital process.
Right?
The bit stream was broadcast via microwave. Beep, beep, beep,
Yeah,
beep.
that's right.
Called a microwave.
30 seconds for coffee.
was this stream was broadcast via microwave to the CD mastering laboratory. I'm going to call it a laboratory. Where a glass master was cut in real time as the music was happening. The digital information was never committed to tape or any other storage medium. Neither was it altered, processed, or corrupted by any editing system. The digital information encoded on the enclosed gold CD is the exact information generated at the recording session.
Yeah.
Dick Hyman plays Duke Ellington.
Right.
Direct CD recording.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It was kind of fascinating. It was a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, Keith, tell them about like other things you've done besides
Let me clarify
recording.
the question, actually.
Okay.
Which maybe we covered, I don't know. But the question was, you're doing all these different things, you know, your pattern recognition, tinkering, all this stuff. At some point, whether it was somebody else that put you in this category or you put yourself in it, it becomes, you're a great recording engineer. Let's turn to you for doing recording engineering, right? Or like setting up and mic placements and all this stuff. Did that, how did that come to be? Was it something where you just became known for being able to do that well? Did you sit down and say, this is what I want to do right here?
Actually, I think some from well known or being known, I would end up. I think it was Audio Engineering Society had what they used to call master class type things, and invite somebody to essentially talk informally about what I might be doing or something like that. And I got involved with quite a few of those. They sort of follow one another. So it's okay, more fun. Like for example, I could describe loudspeakers and some of the things that go on and wrong, which meant that one has to create a test procedure of some kind to identify what is going wrong, because the standard measurements are not going to reveal it as much as it might be needed to be revealed. And so one of these might be, say, the tuning of a bass reflex port. It turns out, watch out, because if you just simply follow the numbers, it could end up something that for the lower frequencies sounds like a bottle, a jug, a boom boom, a thump thump, or it goes on. I mean, that kind of thing. Once you get down to the lowest frequencies, you're into the infrasonic region, and at that point you want it. It's not what the measurements are going to tell you at all. A ported speaker is too big and too cumbersome to do it. It's a sealed box instead. And to make infrasonic sound, this is the kind of thing where a drum knocks you flat. It hits you in the chest. It's information that has to be very powerful to make that happen. And I've gotten misled. In fact, the most recent time I got misled, I was trying to set up my old system that had that in it. All it is like an AR loudspeaker, but in this case, AR KLH. A number of people made sealed box speakers.
So you said a term a minute ago, infrasonic.
Infrasonic means it's beyond sonic. In this case, it's below audio range, supposedly. And to be perceptible, it has to be at a rather high intensity.
So you feel it rather than hear
Therefore, it goes drifting right by, and you don't notice it at all.
Okay. So if I'm thinking that, just to clarify, and we don't have to go too deep, but like, I mean, the lowest notes on the piano are a certain number of cycles per second.
Yeah, right.
You're getting like the 40 to 60 or whatever. Then at a certain point, it stops being perceived as a pitch, and it starts being perceived as a rhythm, like a.
Yeah, well, those are the harmonics.
Those are the harmonics.
Those are harmonics. The actual infrasonic is actually below the audio range, at least at normal listening levels.
Okay.
However, when the levels go up a little higher, then it's the kind of thing that the objects on the table rattle, the doors might rattle, the whole place does a jumping action basically.
Right.
It is wonderful for movie making,
Yeah.
but it's not a ported speaker.
Got it.
They can't go down that low without the parts bottoming out
Right.
or the
Squeaking and
thumping or who
scraping.
knows what else. It's not right at all.
So here's what I'm gathering. Basically, you became the guy who just kind of thought deeply about the sounds, how they're created, how to reproduce them, beyond what everybody else was thinking, or, among a certain select group of people. And also, it sounds like adding a little bit of the magic of it as well. Hey, there's some magic here in like an infrasonic sound. We got to figure out how to make that happen on a recording.
But he worked, building thousands and thousands and thousands of loudspeakers for the industry. He worked in the loudspeaker
But
industry.
I'm not the one
Uh-huh.
that actually first one to create that
Right.
whole
Oh.
awareness.
Right.
You find I think ARKLH Martin Logan started off with some speakers like that.
Yeah.
And then, man, you have to have a big amplifier to run them. There's no question on that. And then I got misled by one recently where I was testing my system because I just wasn't getting the big wallop that should have been happening. Where did it go? What's wrong with it and so forth. And then finally I got it to happen. It was better than I ever thought it could be. Lights went out.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
Lights went out.
It was a coincidence, but.
And it's so easy to get off on the wrong reason why it might have happened that way.
Yeah.
Because I had to go to the house and push the breaker. I go to the house. The house was all dark. There was nothing on there. And I looked out the window. There was nothing on out there either.
Took out the whole
dark
city.
everywhere.
No.
So easy to come to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith, one thing he asked, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you started working with TAM and reference recordings is when you started really focusing as an audio engineer, is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what were some of the earlier recordings you did with TAM in particular that ended up being reference recordings, still maybe like RR8 or RR10 are still in the catalog? What were those like? Do you remember those sessions?
Yeah, like
There were-
Red Norvo.
Like Norvo would be one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Where was that recorded?
That was in a bar.
Nice.
And
In like San Francisco or?
it was in, what was that thing? I think it was near Palo Alto, if I remember right.
No, I can go look at it.
Anyway,
That's still in the
anyway,
catalog.
What did you use to record that?
That would have been the old hand-built 3-track machine. That was when it was done.
Which is still around.
And it had a prototype Sony microphone because the whole thing was set up by Sony, which later on became Sony Super Scope. And so anyway, the microphone was I don't remember the numbers, a C something, I think. And it became a famous Sony microphone later.
But you made that before RR.
So I made it before RR.
Go get it.
And then it had 3 channels recorded. The group was on stage. The stage was perfect. It was all stone, heavy materials, nothing flimsy. And it could really do it. And the audience being New Year's Eve.
And that's a piano, right? That has piano, violin.
That's the the mallet.
Oh, there's vibes. Okay.
Beautiful mallet. And oh man, could he ever do it? Double sticks in hands, and there's 4 notes being played at a time with that thing. And he was very good at it. The Norvo, the original Forward Look group, was
Now I'm set to
famous.
answer any questions.
And so that's,
You have a bunch of different options there.
yeah.
Do you have
just-
the Red Norvo one, or is that
Yeah.
that's
This was, I just brought this because if we have any questions, like where was it recorded, it'll
Yeah.
be here.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Forward Look.
the Forward Look Red
But
Norvo?
he recorded
quintet?
that way before reference recordings.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay.
you're right. I was just
Yeah.
still doing Armed Forces Radio.
Recorded live, New Year's Eve, 1957.
There you go.
Yeah.
A Professor Johnson recording.
No.
Nice. Yeah, I'd love to read this here. So,
Yeah.
Red Norvo on the vibes, Jimmy Wobble guitar, Jerry Dodgin reeds, Red Wooten bass, John Markham drums. So you got Rewani, the forward look between the devil and the deep blue sea, My Bunny Valentine.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
How's your mother-in-law Saturday night? Mountain greenery, I'm beginning to see the light.
Yes.
When you're smiling. Room 608, Berlina and Lenny cooking at the Continental. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the artwork here.
And that was the introduction of
I do
a
too.
new Sony condenser
I like the art on that
microphone.
one.
And it had, the insides was like the old condenser microphones. There were Altec lipsticks, and there were the Gibson Girl shaped Altec. Those.
All right, we're going to pause there. That was fun. Thank you for joining me in reviewing that visit. What a fascinating fellow with a lot of stories, and man, how I feel like it's so interesting to review what he was up to and just think about how foreign this is for the majority of us these days, to put together a new type of recording equipment, as a high schooler or something. Most high schoolers, I feel like, are not even exposed to that level of electronics these days. So anyway, it's very fascinating. There is more to this interview, and we'll air it at a later date. I've also got some cool recording just the place that they have there, but we'll save that also for a later time. And in the meantime, we'll just sign off for today. So again, thanks for joining. Thanks for bearing with me as our guest had canceled for this week, but I think we had a cool backup plan, and I'm glad that we prepared accordingly. I will walk us out, and we'll see you again next time. We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks for those who participated in the session we showed today, including Larry Lobel, who arranged it, and Keith O. Johnson, who was our primary interviewee. As always, we are brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. It's cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually, hey, make your life more convenient. Subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour. It's just $16 a month. You get the recording of today's session in our member area, automatic registration for each week's news session. Hey, sign up at bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. Don't forget about the podcast, the Substack, the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Sign up for the email list so you can keep abreast of things by going to the website. Just enter your name and email. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you again